The idiot savant,
Who
doesn't have the mental capabilities or capacity to sit there and feed himself, and yet will sit down at a piano and play magical, specific music just absolutely with perfection. Absolutely. Where does that come from?
You're right, no doubt about it. That's an incredible development, and to understand what we call the idiot savant, because what they can do is just incredible. It implies that there's more to this human creature and the mechanics of the brain and the spirit of the human than what we even begin to understand. And I think scientists is now starting to realize, you know, there's more to we humans than meets the eye.
And going back to what you were saying before about the sharing of consciousness, what do most abductees talk about when they're aboard ship and being talked to telepathically, but yet the behavior of their abductors seem to be operating in a hive, we call it a hive mind.
Hive mind.
And what was on Star Trek, you know, generations in the film, you know, the Borg consisted of a hive mind.
Yeah.
You know, so today we artificially create the internet. So the internet is like the artificiality of something that maybe was endowed originally with human beings.
Yeah. The idea of being able to go inside of human bodies and pull out devices that are hidden inside the human body, and there's no possible way they could have gotten in, you know, by accident, and they are actually devices which are scientifically provable that some of the devices we know, the material is not earthly, it's not of this world, and so when I hear scientists say, well, show me something that I can look at, I'm thinking, well, they don't want to look at this. The idea that humans might be actually carrying devices inside their body that's put there by a higher intelligence, and so that's been your work, and that's why it's on the cutting edge, and that's why I wanted to talk with you, Dr. Lear. So just remember the name, Dr. Roger Lear, L-E-I-R. The alien implant doctor. I want to introduce to you a friend of mine who I think is doing some extraordinarily interesting work on his own, a young man named Joe, and Joe has been a friend of mine for the last 3 or 4 years, and he's doing some very important work, and I'm fascinated with his abilities to understand the world in which we live, philosophically and politically, in every other way. He's from Europe originally, and I just wanted the world to know about this extraordinary young man that is my dear friend.
We've known each other for a couple of years now. You know, we kind of exchange ideas and concepts about certain things, particularly Jordan's research that he's been into about, you know, the occult esoteric world, what it really means, where it probably stems from, its history and roots. And you know, a little bit about me. I have a project. It's called the Pyramid Center, which you can check out. It's on the website called thepyramidcenter.org. That's org, not com. And it's actually the reason Jordan and I had met originally. I actually contacted him because I wanted him to be one of the permanent lecture speakers or residents of that project. And it's kind of ironic because, you know, the project is still in development. It's a massive, massive, massive project. But so it's still in development, but Jordan needed some help with him, so, you know, one thing led to another, and we kind of started collaborating. We saw eye to eye with a tremendous amount of things, and it's interesting because we actually spoke about that a few nights ago, that, you know, his research, what he's been doing and still currently does, is something that I'll most likely take over and expand on, because it is knowledge which is very, very important, and it takes a certain type of person through and through to do that kind of research. It's a type of lifestyle. And it's not something that you just do on the weekends, and so, you know, it's, I guess one could argue it's almost by fate that we meet, and, you know, we exchange ideas, particularly towards the latter end of his life, when it was most critical, most crucial that we meet. And again, it's kind of my project. So what I'll be doing is, taking his work, his research, and of course elaborating and expanding on that tenfold. Because we're coming in some times that I think people need to understand what's going on. Because people seem very, at the end of the day, a lot of people are vulnerable and confused about how things work, but there's a specific reason for everything. There's no mistakes or errors. And so the hopes is that this knowledge and information will be revealed to alleviate a lot of the confusion, problems, and stresses world and the people in general experience. And that's kind of that kind of sums up in a few minutes what Jordan and I have been doing and what I'll continue to do as well as Jordan will be. So that's a little bit.
The thing that I have always been impressed about Joe is that so often when I talk to other people, I heard a comedian say one time that when I talk to other people, I always end up talking to myself. And so it's true that so many times when I'm talking to people, I sense that they're not really getting what I'm saying. And they're being polite, but they're not really understanding the significance of what I'm trying to say. But I've always noticed that no matter what the subject is, and no matter how deep down the rabbit hole I'm going with my thoughts, Joe is able to add intellectually stimulating answers and concepts that I haven't even thought about. And so it's always a joy to sit and converse and talk about my work, which is dealing with the occult world of religion and politics and society in general, the hidden secrets of society. And Joe is very knowledgeable on all of this way before he ever met me. So it's always been a very encouraging relationship to be able to sit and talk with a young man who I don't have to explain my terms and explain what I'm talking about, because he's very knowledgeable on the esoteric implications of the world we live in, the way banks work, the way governments actually work, philosophy. He's studied many of the Eastern philosophies and ideas, and so I've always found conversations with Joe to be very mentally stimulating. And so that's why we have done so well together. And his work, his particular project that he was talking about is called the Pyramid Center. You can go on the web and check it out. It's called thepyramidcenter.org, right? .org. And check out this fascinating project that he has up in the mountains just east of Los Angeles, where the idea is to ultimately build a center for metaphysical and spiritual retreat of sorts, where people can go and study and to get away from the everyday world of the big city